Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to my channel, Do Ministry Gaming, and in this video, I'll be walking you through the setup, test, and results of some GIGA-JUICED mapping in Valdo's Rest. Now, when I say GIGA-JUICED mapping, it's because I am investing about 200 chaos per map, and then on top of that, about 100 chaos per map in sextant rolls just to get some very specific sextant mods in order to run these maps. So when you sum it all up, it's actually around 300 chaos per map that I'm investing and hoping to get my money back on. All right, and so at a very high level, the idea behind this farm is to roll a very particular sextant mod that allows Nemesis monsters to drop 3 additional basic currency items. And when you pair that with a rare map mod that you can roll on maps that allows rare monsters to become Nemesis monsters, that means rare monsters become Nemesis monsters, and Nemesis monsters drop 3 additional basic currency items, which means all rare monsters on the map will drop 3 additional basic currency items. And as you can see from the highlight clips here, that leads to a ton of currency drops within your map. And then from there, all the investment goes towards putting as many rare monsters into the map as possible to take advantage of this combination. And so one of the reasons why Valdo's Rest is such a great area to do this is because the Harbinger League mechanic, when combined with the Diplomatic Escort Atlas Ascendancy node, which allows Harbingers to have a 30% chance to become Harbinger bosses, these Harbinger packs end up with a ton of rare monsters, which would lead to a ton more currency drops. Now, on top of that, you can also combine that with Watchstones that allow you to drop rare currency shards as well. So these Harbinger packs are actually functioning kind of 2 for 1, right? Have double the impact. You have a chance to drop these rare valuable currency shards, which are Exalted shards, Ancient shards, and sometimes even Mirror shards. And then on top of that, all the rare monsters in these packs drop additional currency items. And so it's kind of a double whammy. When you juice the map up enough, it can be quite powerful. And so the idea is to get as many Harbingers in there as possible and as many rare monsters as possible. And so in this video, I'm going to walk you through my exact setup and how I ran each of the maps in my test. And then I'm going to show you the results of what I got. And then, as usual, I will do an in-depth analysis in Excel on the exact returns of each map and what I got as a total in terms of a sort of chaos per hour profit type number. All right, so I'll go over the setup now. This is a tab that I've prepared to kind of walk you through it. I've got 10 maps slated to run right now. I might turn this into a 15 map test. I'm not sure yet, but I've just got 10 set up right now for the time being. And let's see how it goes. But anyway, I am running Canyon maps in Valdo's Rest, and each of these maps have been rolled with the Nemesis mod, like I talked about at the beginning of the video. And so Nemesis mod is the one that gives you more rare monsters, as well as rare monsters each have a Nemesis mod. From there, the Scarabs, I am running the Winged Harbinger Scarab. This Winged Harbinger Scarab is 1x each, so I spent 10 exalts just on this one particular Scarab, which will add 7 additional Harbingers onto your map. Then the Gilded Metamorph Scarab, I am running the Metamorph nodes in the Ascendancy, which I'll explain when I get there. And so I'm going to run the Gilded Metamorph. I'm running Gilded Breach, which will spawn more monsters. Again, more monsters and more rare monsters. And then a Rusted Legion node for the Legion mechanic. And then from there, I am running the 4 Watchstones. And so, of course, I'm going to run 1 Auspicious Watchstone, which is Harbingers in areas drop rare value currency shards. And then I pair that up with 3 Harbingers Watchstones that give the percent chance to contain additional Harbinger. I really want as many additional Harbingers as I can get to both capitalize on not just the currency shard drops, but also the rare monsters drop. Like I said, the Harbingers come with a lot of rare monsters, and if those Harbingers become Harbinger bosses, it's even crazier. And so I tried to stack as much percent as I can to get an additional Harbinger. These 2 are T1. And then I did come across this Restless Cycles unique Watchstone, which is 100% to contain additional Harbinger. I think I paid 150C for this for 15 uses, so 15 maps. So it's really 10C per map for the additional Harbinger, and I think that is absolutely worth it. And then from there, I'll go through the Sextant mods. Like I said, I rolled Awakened Sextants on these until I got these very particular mods. There are a couple I'm very particular about, and then a couple maybe I'm not so particular about. So the first is you must have Nemesis monsters drop 3 additional basic currency items. This one you must have on one of the four Watchstones. You know, you can easily drop 100 Awakened Sextants, 200 Awakened Sextants, and not get one of these. So you really have to be mentally prepared to spend that currency in order to get it. The 4 I've rolled right here took me 115 Awakened Sextants or something, or 102, I think. So I spent over 100, and they are 5 chaos each. Yeah, so just to roll these 4, it was 100 Sextants, so 500 chaos just to roll these for 4 maps. So Nemesis is absolute necessary. I did end up rolling, contains a Mirror of Delirium. Mirror is fantastic. Delirium mechanic is crazy profitable. In the cases that I don't roll a mirror, I'll just put a Delirium orb onto my map. But because I rolled one here, I'm sticking with it. Then the next, I've got the Beyond mod. I think the Beyond is probably one I'll try to roll every map as well. So the Nemesis and the Beyond. And then finally, I ended up with the Blight encounter as well. So this one is also, you know, you can mix that up. You know, if I don't get Blight, maybe I got Legion. That's fine too. Maybe I got some Metamorph or something. I can switch out the Scarab. And so I'm mixing and matching a little bit. I'm not being too crazy. Otherwise, I'd be rolling 300 Sextants per map. And so I'm just kind of being strict on kind of these two, and then the other two can kind of float, so it makes it a little bit easier to roll. And then on to the Atlas Ascendancy passives. I've got, of course, like I say, Diplomatic Escort. This is the core of the mechanic here. And 30% chance to be replaced by a powerful Harbinger boss. When you get a Harbinger boss, it's just absolutely insane. Tons of currency shard drops, which stack with Auspicious. And then tons of rare monsters, which stack with the Nemesis combo. And 30%. It also has no limit. You can spawn multiple of these. You can have 3, you can have 4, you can have 5 in a map. And so, you know, putting as many Harbingers into the map as possible is taking advantage of this as much as possible. So I'm getting 10, 12 Harbingers per map, and a 30% chance I might end up with 3 or 4 if I get lucky, maybe even 5 or 6 Harbinger bosses. So that's me fantastic. And then next, I'm running the 6 Metamorph nodes. Metamorph, if you're not familiar, a Metamorph also spawns a ton of rare monsters, if you didn't know that. And so Metamorphs are fantastic. I ran the Gilded Metamorph Scarab, but also on top of that, I have a chance to get an additional Metamorph encounter, putting as many Metamorphs into the map as I can as well. All right, and then finally, on the map device, I will be running Alvas. The incursions do drop a pretty big loot explosion at the end, so that is fantastic. And then also I will be running the Harbinger map mod, which is 2 additional Harbingers. I do have a few 6 infused Harbinger crafts, which is 4 additional Harbingers. Very excited to run these that I have them now, so this should be pretty good. All right, so that should be the setup here, and like as usual, each map that I run, I'll put all the loot into one tab, and then sum it all up at the end by map, and then as a total as well. I guess I'll get started, and I'll see ya in a bit. All right, we have completed the 10 maps now, and as usual, I'll show you the loot in game. We did collect 4 tabs worth of loot, plus a tab of Metamorph parts and maps. But to quickly go over the drops here, you know, of note, I dropped between Exalt drops and Exalted Shard drops, I dropped 9 full Exalted Orbs and 11 Exalted Shards. 6 of these were raw Exalt drops, and then the other 3 and 11 shards were all shard drops. And so between these two, I did end up with 9, which means it's about 1x per map just from Exalted Orbs and Shards, which is pretty darn good. And then from there, a couple other things to note is I did get 2 Simulacrums and 109 Splinters, so that's 700 Splinters over the 10 maps. That's about 70 Splinters per map. And there was actually even 2 maps where I ended the Delirium mirror early. I think I was hitting a hotkey or something that ended the encounter even before halfway through the map. And so those 2 maps only dropped like 15 Splinters each. But even with that included, you know, we're at about 70 Splinters per map. If not, otherwise we'd be maybe 80 or 90 Splinters per map. So that's actually really good for 1 Delirium mirror roll on your Sextants as well. As well, I also dropped 3 Vol Reliquary keys, which was kind of cool, I guess. These aren't worth that much anymore, but you know, it was kind of cool to see them drop. And then afterwards, Awakened Sextants, this says only 21, but I actually bought about 100 to 150 off of myself, which is why you see so many Chaos Orbs and so little Awakened Sextants. But I would say I dropped well over 100 Awakened Sextants. I just needed them to continue to roll my Watchstones, and I didn't want to go to market to buy them. And so these were quite a bit of value. I mean, if I bought 500 Chaos worth of Awakened Sextants off of myself, this amounts to quite a bit of currency. And then from there, of course, the Prime and the Simple Sextants, like these are Chaos Orbs by about 500 of these, I would say, which is 4 rows or so, would be from my Awakened Sextant purchases. Otherwise, each map roughly dropped about 30 to 50 raw Chaos Orbs, which was quite nice. And then from there, Alteration Orbs made up some decent value as well. I was dropping probably about 150 Alteration Orbs per map. I hope that math works out. 100, 150, somewhere in there. Then, of course, as you can see, the rest of this, a whole schwack of currency, because that is what this whole strategy revolves around. And then Metamorph parts. You do get 6 parts per map when you run the dual Metamorph strategy. Unfortunately, there were a couple maps where I only ended up with 1 brain drop the entire map. So when you only have 1 part for the one brain, for example, you can only spawn 1 metamorph. You can't spawn the other, even if you can fill the vat with your other parts on the second metamorph. You have to have 1 of each part. And so there were a couple maps where I was only able to spawn 1 metamorph, which was very unfortunate, considering putting points into the Atlas Ascendancy tree. All right, and so here is the breakdown of how the 10 map experiment went. As usual, each line represents 1 map that I've completed. The first thing to note is that for the first 4 maps, I ran the Gilded Breach, as I described earlier in the video. And then from there, I switched to Gilded Abyss for the remaining 6. I'm not actually sure which one I prefer. But the Abyss Scarab is cheaper by 12 Chaos. It's a third the price of a Gilded Breach. And so, I think this comes down to preference. I can't say for sure which was better. I might actually still prefer Breach, to be honest, but Gilded Abyss sometimes can feel very good too. It just sucks when the Abyss ends after 1 sort of run, and then the Trove spawns right away. And also, chasing down an Abyss is not always all that fun either as you're playing through the map. And so I think I still prefer Gilded Breach, and at the numbers that I'm, showing here, it's certainly affordable. And so that's kind of what I would prefer if I were to do this again. And so from here, I did mark down the 4 prices of each of the Scarabs. The big one, of course, being that Winged Harbinger. These are 1 Exalt each. And then additional, we'll call it 23 Chaos to 35 Chaos for the remaining 3 Scarabs. Now, the Sextants is really where this strategy can have a huge variance in terms of costs. I took 223 Sextants to roll the 10 maps I needed. Of course, they are 4 maps at a time that you're rolling, and so I had to really roll 2.5 sets of mods, and it took me about 223 Sextants to run, which means it took me 1,115 Chaos worth of Awakened Sextants at 5C apiece to roll the 10 maps. And so the average price per map is actually 112 Chaos, or 111.5, rounded up to 112 per map added onto the cost. And that's why this gets so expensive. Between the Winged Harbinger and the Awakened Sextant price, I mean, you're pretty much the entire cost just between the 2 of those things. But if you were to sum up everything, also around the Alva Master Mission and the Harbinger map mod, which is 4C, the total investment per map is 301 Chaos if you ran the Gilded Breach, and 289 Chaos if you ran the Gilded Abyss. Now, the total I spent on the 10 maps then is 2,933 Chaos, but I did make some real good currency. I gotta say, this strat was fun to run, and it is quite profitable. I ended up with 5,554 Chaos worth of value, and it's not like, anything that is a stretch in terms of pricing. All of this came from that currency that you saw in my tabs. There were very few items that that don't have a definitive price on them or subjective price. And so this number is very accurate, I would say. If you were to go and actually, go through the exercise of liquidating everything you have, for a total profit of 2,621 chaos over the 10 maps. And then down here really is the summary table, I guess. If I made that kind of profit, I can run about 3.5 maps per hour, which means to run 10 maps is 2.86 hours. Of course, not including all the setup time, which actually is quite a bit longer than it used to be in 3.13. You have to buy all these awakened sextants and roll the watchstones and stuff. This took me 2.86 hours, excluding that, for a total profit of 916 chaos per hour. So 916 chaos per hour is probably the best result I've made this league so far in 3.14. But just another couple things to mention is that while I was rolling these Sextants, I was actually getting quite lucky. I rolled another 2 Nemesis Watchstones on top of what I needed. And so those Watchstones will sell me for, a 3x premium on top of the Watchstone that I bought, which was 1x to roll. So I actually made another 6x on top of all this just because of the outcomes of how I rolled my Sextant. So I got pretty lucky on those, but I didn't count them in any of these numbers, of course, but it was quite nice to have. And then down here, of course, is just the graphical representation. The blue line, as always, is the investment that I put into each one of these maps. And as you can see, every map made a profit, except for the first one, I guess, slight. But you're close to breaking even on the worst maps. You're basically break even on the worst maps. And then on the good ones, when you're dropping exalted orbs and what have you, you're really crushing it, especially, map 4, 5, and 8 there. All right, guys, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please like and subscribe. Also stream on Twitch Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Come and hang out. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.